Now let's add some text to a page in our notebook. For example, in the promotion section, I'm going to go to the page called social media, and I'm just going to type some text. Now, as far as one of the flexible things about OneNote is it literally will let you just click anywhere on a page and just start typing. And you'll be able to then move that typing really easily because it'll be in what they call a container. I'm just going to click about here and I want to type 10 social media tips to promote your next event. Oops. Now notice that straight away the text appears in what they call a container, which looks like a frame. And if I place my mouse towards the top of the container on what looks like a grey sort of bar at the top that contains 4 little full stops, then it changes to a 4-headed white arrow. Now the 4-headed white arrow is for move. So if I drag my mouse with this mouse pointer showing, then I can move this text container anywhere on my page. And then that's the really good thing, is you can literally click anywhere on your page and start typing, knowing full well that you can move it easily later. Now the other thing you can do quite easily is you can resize your container. This little 2-headed white arrow that appears in the top right corner allows you to make it wider or narrower. So I'm going to make it a little bit wider. I'd like to add some more text to my container, so I'm just going to press enter a couple of times and add social media is everywhere. Every audience, from tweens to grannies, uses social. So make sure you're present in order to reach your event target audience. Okay, so I've added some more text to my container, so I can introduce you to this little grey sort of arrow to the left hand side of the container. If I click that little grey arrow, it actually selects a paragraph, and I can drag that little grey arrow up to move that paragraph up, or drag the little grey arrow down to move the paragraph down. So it's actually a really useful little arrow that I can drag things up and rearrange them with. Now the other thing you can use to move things up and down is if I use this grey arrow to select this paragraph just by clicking on it once, I can hold the Alt and the Shift keys and then tap the up arrow or tap the down arrow. And Alt Shift up arrow and down arrow moves the selected paragraph up and down, which is really, really useful. Now when you select a paragraph also, you may see this mini toolbar turn up. This mini toolbar presents common formatting options that you may wish to apply to the selected paragraph. Personally, I find it annoying. So if you want to turn the mini toolbar off, you can do so by going to File and going to Options. And it's the very first tick box in the General section, Show Mini Toolbar on Selection. I'm actually going to untick that and OK, so that it doesn't appear when I go to select a particular paragraph or even a particular word or sentence or the entire text in a container. So that's the idea with the container. Now I'd like you to run off to the web and actually go and find some information about the top 10 social media tips. And it's not trips, it's tips. And copy and paste it into this particular frame. I've actually found some text and I'm going to copy and paste it into this frame about there, and I'll just go the Home tab and paste. So you just copy and paste some text in. Now when you copy and paste, the other thing is to notice that there are paste options, and if I was to click this, when I copy and paste, it tends to keep its source formatting, but sometimes I want to drop the text only, and if I keep the text only, it adopts the default font size and font color that we originally established in an earlier video when we went to File and Options and we went to here. So sometimes I want to keep the text only and not keep the source formatting. Now here I have some text that I can work with. The sorts of things I'd like to do is I'd like to change the font size and font color. So for example, I might select this paragraph at the top here just by clicking to the left, and I'll change the font from being Arial to maybe Californian FB. And here we are here. Unfortunately, in OneNote, unlike other applications, as I roll up and down, I'm not getting a live preview of what the fonts look like. So I sort of just have to go by what's shown in here. So I'll choose Californian FB. So that's my font, which is my style of writing. My font size, of course, is here, and the larger the number, the larger the writing, so I might choose 20. And my font color is this particular button here, so I can hit the drop down and I can choose a different color. So I might go for a hot orange. So we've got font, font size, and font color. Now you've also got other options available in this basic text group, and I'd like to work my way through these. For example, I might decide that I'd like to make certain things bold. I'll click to the left of number 1, then I'll hold the Control key and click to the left of number 2, number 3, 4. This is how you select multiple passages of text, because I want to make all of those bold. So I'll click this button here. Notice also Control B is the shortcut key for turning the bold on and off, as opposed to clicking this button to turn the bold on and turn the bold off. So I'll make these bold. If I wish to then select the paragraphs underneath each heading, I'll click the first one to the left of the first one, hold the Control key and click to the left of each and every other one. And I want to make these italic. And that's the job of this button, or Control I is the shortcut key. When I click this button, it sort of adopts a slopey sort of look. I can turn it off and turn it on just to show you, and that's italics. I may even decide that I actually want to change the font of the selected paragraphs while I've got them selected, so I could actually change those to, I might choose Times New Roman. So I get down to the T's, and there's Times New Roman. And I might make it a little larger. So I might go for 12 or 11.5. And I might choose a different color. So really handy. Actually, that's a bit hard to read. Really handy to be able to select multiple paragraphs and do it in one hit. If I wish to apply underline again, I'll choose numbers 1, 2, through to 10. You can be doing this just to one paragraph, but I really want to show you something a little different where we're selecting multiples. And I can make those underline. Notice the shortcut key is Control U, and that'll underline each of those selected paragraphs. The other thing you can do is you can do what they call strikeout. Now, strikeout is when I want to indicate to somebody that I want something removed without actually just removing it, and they're none the wiser. If I click to the left of this paragraph, I can click this button here and it will strike through or strike out this particular paragraph and put a cross through it. So I click the button, and as you can see, I'm now sort of indicating that I want that removed or deleted by striking it out. To remove the strike through, I'll click the paragraph again, and I'll hit the button again to remove the strike through. We also have a button for what they call superscript and subscript in this drop down here. Now, it doesn't really relate easily to what I have here, so I might just go to a blank page just to experiment. I'll just go to Overview. I'm just going to click somewhere on the page to make a text container, and I might type 100 M. Now, I want squared for 100 meters squared. So what I'm after is basically superscript. I'll hit the drop down here, I'll choose superscript, which I say to the kids is like Superman, it lifts things up. So I'll choose superscript, I'll do a 2, and then I'll turn off my superscript by clicking the button again. So I turned it on, typed a 2, turned it off to go back to normal. And I'll get you to do a few things just to practice. It might be 180 degrees. So I'll type 180, turn on my superscript, do a little O, and turn off my superscript by clicking the button again. And then try 100 meters cubed. Turn on the superscript, do a 3, turn off the superscript, and your cursor goes back to normal size and back to normal typing. Now, superscripts like Superman I mentioned, where it lifts things up, Subscripts are like submarines, they go down. So they're things like H2O or CO2 or O2. If we were to do H2O, I'll do a capital H, I'll turn on the subscript, do a 2, turn off the subscript, and do a capital O. And so I've got H2O. And the same with CO2. The other thing you can do is you can actually have the letter or number that you want lifted or dropped already typed and selected, and then apply superscript or subscript. So I don't want to confuse the issue, but if I already had O2, if I want to select just the 2, I'll highlight it by dragging over it, and then I'll apply subscript, and it'll drop it. It's just got to make sure that it turns off, so that's why I prefer the earlier method. So that's superscript and subscript. If I want to get rid of this text container, I might click the container, and this button here is really good. It deletes, but so too does the delete key on your keyboard, so whatever's the most natural. So I'll delete that text we were just experimenting with, and I'll go back to social media. Sometimes I like to highlight things, so I draw people's attention to certain important points, and we have a highlighter option here. In fact, you've got a lot of highlighter colors. If you hit the drop down, you've got some more pastel ones and some very bold ones. If I choose a yellow here and just a light yellow, I can then actually drag by turning on the highlighter. I'll just turn it on and drag over certain text and highlight it. Sorry, I had that around the wrong way. So highlight your paragraph first, then choose your color, and it'll automatically highlight it that color. And if I choose this one, I can highlight that green as well. And if I choose this one, I can highlight this light yellow. To remove the highlighting, simply select the entire, and I'm just dragging this time because I don't want a single paragraph. I could hold the control and choose each one, or I could actually just drag from the beginning to the end or the end to the beginning. Somehow you just need to highlight that area and then choose the highlighter color, no color, and that removes the highlighting completely from the area you had selected. Another option is if I choose this particular heading, I might like to change the alignment. So I've got paragraph alignment in this button here. It's currently aligned to the left and it's hanging to the left hand side, but I could align it to the right, and notice the shortcut key is Control R, and that'll put it to the right of the container. If I then go back, I can choose center, and if I go back, I can choose left. So you can apply left, right, or center alignment to a selected paragraph. You can also indent certain paragraphs. So for example, I might select this paragraph, and this is my increase indent. I can click this particular button and it will indent it. I can click this button and it will outdent it. Now notice also the mention of the shortcut keys. Earlier we looked at the fact that Alt-Shift Alt-Shift up arrow moved a paragraph up, and Alt-Shift down arrow moved a paragraph down. Well, Alt-Shift right arrow will also move a paragraph to the right, increasingly, and Alt-Shift left arrow will move it to the left, increasingly. So you can actually indent, as it mentions here, with the Alt-Shift right arrow, and outdent with the Alt-Shift left arrow.